Hey friends, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we read 2 Chronicles chapter 9 and we're late to the party. It's been a full long week of soaking in the Lord's Word and Disciple Now and being family and having a Jebby birthday. And so it is Sunday night and we are rocking out Friday's passage, and that's okay.
That's right.
In this chapter, we meet the Queen of Sheba. She literally travels over because she has heard. I totally relate to the Queen of Sheba because I'm gonna hear some news about someone, and I'm gonna hear a little bit of the tea, a little bit of the gossip, and I'm gonna be so nosy. I want to see it for myself. And so that's what's happened. The Queen of Sheba has heard of Solomon's wealth and riches and wisdom, and she wants to see if the rumors are true. And what scripture tells us in this chapter is she sees it for her own eyes, and she tells him, not only are the things that I heard true, but like your God has blessed you exceedingly abundantly beyond what I've even heard. And she is amazed. And what I see here as we read through 2 Chronicles, remember 2 Chronicles is like the history book. And so it gives us the high points of history. It's given us mostly the good news, and it skips over some of the moral failings of these people who are kings. And so what we don't really see here is behind the scenes of Solomon and how he starts out really strong and humble, and he seeks the Lord the Lord seeks him, and he asks him for wisdom. Some really, I see humility in that. I see wisdom in that. But what we see is maybe his heart starts getting divided because the Lord blesses him and he has wealth, but then he has an eye for women. We all have a sin weakness, and we watch Solomon in the other books kind of give into this idolatry of wealth and women and the world. Honestly, all the W's, I'd be a good preacher. But what I see here as we read through, God still uses Solomon, even in this division of Solomon's heart, even in his flaws and imperfection. God still uses him. He has a reputation where even Queen of Sheba in verse 8 says, "Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and set you on his throne as king for the Lord your God. Because your God loved Israel and would establish them forever, he's made you king over them that you may execute justice and righteousness." She's basically worshiping Solomon's God. She's saying, whoa, he did all this. She's giving him the credit. She's giving God the credit. And so I just thought of some things like, did Solomon at this point in his life, does he recognize where all this came from? An outsider who isn't even a God follower could see where this came from. Like, this wealth and this wisdom is beyond human normalcy because it's gifted from God. She recognizes that. And then it makes me think, what kind of reputation do we put off? What do people hear about us? What do they hear about me? Are there things in my life that point others to me, or do they point others to God and giving him the glory?
Yeah.
Your turn.
Whenever I was reading through this, I noticed a few things. Like when the Queen of Sheba comes to visit Solomon, she's heard a lot of rumors, but she needs to figure out some things for herself. And then it says that as she figures out that actually what she's heard is just scratching the surface of Solomon and his kingdom, it says that she spoke to him about all that was in her heart. So here's probably what's happening. Is she's come and she's heard a lot about Solomon's wisdom, so she's come with hard questions that he's going to have to answer in order to impress her. And when he does that, then I wonder if there's ever a moment where she says, if you can answer all of those questions, now let me ask you what my heart's been searching for. What if this is a moment where somebody's heard about the goodness of God, the power of God, the wisdom of God, kind of localized in this Israeli nation, and she said, if there's a place to find truth, maybe this is it. And so she travels, not just for politics. What if she says, I got questions in my heart, and nobody around me can answer them. So I'm going to take them maybe over here. Now that may be stretching it, I don't know. But I do wonder if there was a moment where she says, everything I've heard is is even better in reality. Now let's talk about what's really going on inside of me. And maybe she's impressed with that. One of the things that she notices about God's people and God's place and God's king is how she says in verse 7, how happy are your men and happy are these your servants. And even an outsider like her can look in and see the happiness and the joy and the gladness of God's people, which are characteristics of Solomon's household and supposed to be characteristics of his nation. And one has to wonder, when outsiders look at the people of God on the inside now, are we defined by happiness and gladness and joy? And are people going, good grief, I don't know if I believe all that they believe right now, but I would do anything like for that contagious level of joy. Then the passage is going to end where we're tempted to just stop with the arrival of Queen Sheba, but the chapter's then going to go on to the wealth of Solomon. It's going to go, he's got 666 talents of gold coming in, which by the way, he's got like 666. Just throw in another, take one out, it's a bad number.
Right.
So that's 25 talents of gold, 25 tons of gold coming in. And that's not including like merchants bringing in and taxes on all of that. This is a rich kingdom. And so Solomon is surrounded by blessings, but we do know that he struggled with like he liked money, he liked women, he liked excess. And so he's surrounded by both blessings and temptations all at the same time. And sometimes it turned out good and sometimes it didn't. But here's where it ended for Solomon. It ends exactly where the poorest man at the time of Solomon ends. It ends with his death. So even with all of his wealth, all of his wisdom, his power, all described in verses 13 through about 28, Solomon still died. He had all of this and it ended, and it's reminding us that life is very temporary, and it is, as the writer of Ecclesiastes would say, it is vanity of vanities. It is meaningless and of meaninglessness to put all your stock into things that are temporary. If you can lose it, you never really owned it. And even our very lives are temporary, which is why we lay up treasure for the everlasting side of eternity, the side that God gives us later on from here. And what this is saying is, if Solomon can be all this, if he can have the money and the mind and the throne and the power, and he can die, we're all going to die. So we've got to be rooted in much more than what this world can offer, because this world's not going to last. So tomorrow, when we pick this up, we're going to be in chapter number 10, and we're going to see the consequences of Solomon's idolatry, because his son reaps the consequences. We get into his life tomorrow. We hope to see you then. All right, have a great night.
Bye.